read the scary, true Reddit stories to you guys, so you can relax and frighten at the same time. I do not have any other announcements today. Let's hop right into the stories. So, the first story is called I'm Afraid of the Dark. True story in brackets. Okay. The first time this happened was when I was 8. For reference, this house, my bedroom, was the level below the rest of my family, and my window faced the fence gate that people would walk past. Could never. I was asleep and typically not a very light sleeper. I've slept through a smoke alarm going off before. I felt a tap on my shoulder and thought I might have been my mom or my sister. I turned to face where the tap came from, and a pillow that usually decorates my bed was stuffed in my face. Mind you, it was around 3 a.m. Following that, I heard footsteps going upstairs. I screamed into my pillow, shaking, trying not to wake anyone. I came to the conclusion that it must have been my sister, trying to pull a prank on me, so in the morning, I went and confronted her about it. She swore that it wasn't her, and looked genuinely concerned. Now maybe you can see my dog in the background. That just disturbed the story. She swore that it wasn't her, and looked genuinely concerned at what I was saying. My mom added that maybe I hit myself with a pillow, but that story didn't add up. The decorative pillows that I take off my bed to sleep were always placed on the other side of my room, meaning that I would have had to walk over, grab them, and get back into bed facing the opposite direction, roll over, and hit myself. Note, I do sleepwalk occasionally, so it wasn't out of the blue for her to think this. Also, when I woke up, the pillow was next to my bed instead of the other side of the room. I never really forgot about this, but it was reinstated when I was 10. We had just moved houses. This time my room was on the same story as everyone else. I was asleep when I felt someone's presence standing on the other side of my bed, causing me to lightly wake myself up. I didn't roll over to face it, I just stayed still but aware. The event from before occurred again, but this time with the squishmallow I slept with. It was stuffed into my face. I didn't hear anyone or anything run away though. I didn't scream either. I just lay frightened and shaking. So, I also didn't tell anyone about it this time. I knew I wasn't sleepwalking or doing it to myself, and that was the only explanation they could give me. Since the first house I spoke about, I have been afraid of the dark, and these events highlighted it. One time, a canvas painting fell off my wall and I screamed. My mom thought I had fallen out of bed, only to find me shaking in my bed. I honestly just wanted to know if anyone has experienced something similar, or if they might be able to understand what happened. So, this was our first story. It's quite scary. I have had dreams before where what I thought I was awake, and like the sensation, kind of like sleep paralysis, when someone like picks you up and turns you around or drags you across the floor and you like scream but you can't really scream, and so they always feel very vivid, but I'm actually sleeping or somewhere in between, I guess. If you want a video on that, I have several nightmares that are on that line of events, and I mean, it could be interesting. But I mean, that wouldn't explain why the pillow she put on the other side of the room actually are next to her bed when she or he wakes up. So, I mean, what do you think? Have you ever experienced something like that, or sleep paralysis? Let me know in the comments below. That would actually help me out. But without further ado, let's hop into the next story, which is called What Happened Between Colorado and Wyoming. And no, this is not a joke. First off, if this story sounds familiar, I have shared it a few times on the web. Not anywhere it would gain any popularity, but it is what it is. Second, I'm sharing this experience, not written fiction. This did happen to me. It still sends chills down my spine to this day. I used to travel for work, doing photography and taking photos of undeveloped parcels of land for real estate investors. It was a fun job, but by no means was it easy. A lot of times I have to hike out to parcels because there was no road access, find my way through unfamiliar terrain with outdated maps at best, and not to mention dealing with locals which could either be curious or hostile. But I digress. It was my first out-of-state trip on my own, as the other person who was supposed to go with me had gotten into an accident and was bedridden. Knowing the drive just took to get to my first destination would be a multi-hour one, between 6 to 7 hours if I recall. I slept all day in preparation. I wanted to be in Rawlins. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Rawlins, Wyoming, around sunrise, so I could eat, download my offline maps, and start coming over GPS satellite images to find a way onto my first parcel. I settled in and started my drive around 11 p.m. Well rested, well packed, fully stocked on road snacks, caffeine, and smokes, winding through the windy mountains, taking in the view under the moonlight, jamming out to my tunes. Things were going well for the first 4 or so hours. Then I hit a fog bank somewhere between Kremling, and Walden, Colorado. You see, I'm not a native English speaker, so I don't know if I pronounced these names correctly. Forgive me. The fog was incredibly thick, which prompted me to just slow way down. I'm glad I did, because around a particularly sharp bend, I got stopped by a huge herd of elk. They were posted up all over the road, as far as I could see in the fog, just chilling. Now, my thought process at the time was I needed to get moving before some fool turns that corner and plows into me or the elk. So I rolled my window down and hollered at them, "Get a job." And I utter silence that only heavy fog or snow brings, only broken by the occasional shuffle from one of the elk, none of which paid me even the slightest of mind. My dog wants to do ASMR for you too, apparently. That was until about a minute later. Get a job. My voice unmistakably coming from the opposite side of the elk herd. The direction I was headed, the elk, they very much paid attention to that voice. They bolted back past me in a panic. One even slammed into my side mirror of my vehicle. As soon as they were clear, I gunned it. I've never driven so fast before, or even after in fog. If there was gonna be some creepy thing waiting for me in that fog on the road, well, it met the front grille of that lifted Grand Cherokee long before it got to me. I drove until I was forced to stop for gas, I believe in Saratoga, Wyoming. I was pretty shaken. Nothing else unsettling happened on that trip, despite staying in the allegedly haunted hotel of Medicine Bow, Wyoming. I was allowed to stay in the historical section, as everything else was booked up. Very kind of the hotel owners, but I'm sorry to say I did not have anything spooky happen during my stay there. Perhaps the ghosts knew I'd had enough of a fright already. So that's it. Honestly, the encounter was creepy as heck, and I'm grateful that it was as far as it went. So, this is the second story. And it is also very creepy. I don't know about you guys, but I am kind of a nervous driver, especially at night, or during fog, or any weather conditions, basically. So it already stresses me out, but then thinking that something paranormal or creepy could be on the road always gets me. Like, I have to consciously force myself not to think anyone is sitting, like, hiding in the back seat, or that I'm going to hit this one specific curve and like a ghost is going to stand on that, like on the road, on the walkway, on the side of the road. Which actually happened once, but that's another story. Well, at least we are convinced that that's what it was, but anyway, if you want to hear about it, let me know. Yeah, I mean, what do you think of this story? Your voice calling back to you. I mean, could have been an echo, but probably wasn't. Probably wasn't. Let me know in the comments below what you would have done, because I don't even know if I would have been physically capable to drive anymore. Let's move on to the third and last story for today. This story is called I Was Stalked by a Skinwalker. I don't like that word. No, not at all. Let's see. I've been thinking about this for years. Me and my family have never came up with an explanation for it, or how it could possibly be debunked. From what I can remember, I was around 8 at the time this happened, so I could have been part of my imagination, but I highly doubt that. The story starts with me and my family had planned to stay at my grandparents' over Christmas. Holidays like we have done for years. My parents live in a very isolated area, and they are mostly surrounded by empty fields of land my grandfather owns, or other farms near have much to entertain ourselves other than play hide and seek in the extremely overgrown grass, or sit on my grandfather's tractor. One evening after we had finished dinner, we asked our grandma if we could go back outside, which she said was fine, but we must not go too deep into the fields, and if we did, just wait until she found us. So, like usual, me and my siblings were playing hide and seek before I realized I could no longer hear their footsteps, and I had gone too deep. I no longer knew where I was, but I could merely make out I was around 2 entire fields away from my siblings, and that my grandparents' house was on my far left, but I still stayed in place because I was scared of accidentally going deeper into the fields and getting into bigger trouble. Eventually I heard other pair of footsteps. They were fast and coming from my right before I heard what sounded like my older sister call out my name. It sounded close by, but even through the thin grass I couldn't see her. Obviously, being a child, I followed my sister's voice, despite it being on the opposite direction of my grandparents' house. I followed the voice for what I can remember was close to 20 minutes. Each time, her voice felt further and further away. Suddenly, while I was walking, I recognized a certain tree in the distance. It was then that I knew I was on another farmer's plot of land that I was forbidden to go into. Whatever I was following was not my sister. My sister was a stern follower of grandparents' rules and would never dare to go out of my grandfather's land onto another farmer's. Never in my life have I felt such a horrible feeling in my stomach. I bolted back into the direction I came. I could still hear rustling behind me. It was terrifying. I could hear that thing call out my name, but it sounded more and more sinister, like grunts and gurgled in between every breath. A nearby elderly couple found me after I was curled up on the floor hiding beneath the grass. They took me inside and had called my parents to tell them they had found me. It turns out all of my other siblings, including my older sister, had gone back inside, apart from my little brother, after the first 10 minutes of being outside, and they had assumed I was still playing. What felt like 30 minutes was actually 3 entire hours. I had walked 8.5 miles. My parents were close to filing a report before I was found. Since that day, I never went back into the fields, and still, when I visit, keep far away from them. Well, this actually to me sounds like the missing 411 stories, if you know what those are. I find them so intriguing, and I was obsessed with them for a whole year or more. I listened to all the Mr. Pollen episodes on them. I guess if you're into scary things and the strange and dark and mysterious, as he always calls it, you surely know him. Huge fan, so yeah. Because he this person in the story gets lured into far away into the field, or far away from where they originally were, and they completely lose track of time or distance, and kind of reminded me of that. Anyway, very scary story. Yeah, I always used to play hide and seek in the fields as a kid. I don't know about you, but It's close to home. Anyway, let me know what you think of these stories and what you would have done. Would you have left your sibling alone outside and just like go in 10 minutes when this sibling was actually hiding to be found? I think that's kind of harsh. I mean, you don't just leave your sibling that probably is the youngest out hiding and you don't seek him. It's kind of rude, actually. Okay. Anyway, I hope you could relax a little bit and you enjoyed these videos and these stories, and I hope to see you soon in the next one.